enemies, kids of all ages. It's some Thursday. It's the Mattriarchy. I am, of course, as always, your host, Matt Rhys. I am joined by longtime acquaintance on the internet. It's long in internet years. It's like 4 years or something, yeah? 4, 6?
That sounds good.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Lonnie Webb. How's it going?
It's going pretty well. I mean, it's not like I remember that or anything.
Yeah, I have to go through and, find the date stamp or whatever. So here's the story: is that we just ran into each other one day on the internet in a Facebook group or something, and his stories looked interesting, and I looked them out and checked it out, and I was like, "This is kind of cool," and we chatted for a bit. And that was about it.
Yeah, that was. It started with through, didn't it? So
it did indeed, yeah. And I have to confess, I've not finished through.
That's okay. Neither have I.
Dude, that's amazing. That's just classic stuff right there.
Well, through is something that I give out. If people give me money, I take it. But I don't require money for people to read through.
And I just think it's such an interesting story too. And another reason I was looking forward to Carl Toons being here is he does a webcomic called Hullgrave, and it's this whole steampunk alternate history kind of thing.
Similar groove.
And so I know yours is pushed forward a little bit into the diesel period a little while, but yeah, it's got some. I thought it'd be some cool stuff to kind of riff on with that, but he has so far not shown up yet. However, we do have wait, that doesn't make sense. Well, Nick Mueller, one of my fellows, regular viewers, occasional guest, showing up here. He's just finished a crowdfund for a comic called Demon Hunter Raven. I downloaded the files because I contributed to that one, and I got the digital fulfillment already. Haven't read them. Didn't happen yet. So that's the story with that one. But he's here, and somehow, I don't know what this is all about, Restream tells me that I had 100 messages today, but that's not even possible because I've only been on for a few minutes. So
I didn't see him.
I didn't see him either. So I don't know what's up with that. So Lonnie, tell me, how long have you been doing comics?
Let's see. Well, I started doing some ghost writing, drawing back around 1980, and nothing of mine ever went to print. Back then, stupid kid submitting stuff to Marvel on typing paper.
Yeah.
Because where you can't go to Walmart and get Bristol paper.
No.
At least you couldn't. So I actually ended up in an IT career, and in college, I was then submitting some things to assist other people in actual professional work. Can't say anything about it other than I did it. It may have influenced some pages that made it to print, but ghostwriters make nothing.
Yeah, that is true.
So I went the IT direction for several years, and I was actually involved in the second round of OS2 called Warp. So if you remember Warp and Klingon, the two operating systems that IBM put out after OS2, I had a major hand in that I found a big bug and fixed it, and that's my one big contribution, one line of code to the gold copy of OS2. Yeah, I did work on some other products, but that was my thing. That it's there somewhere. It's in a box. Yeah. Then I busted my hip, and that was in or around 2014, 2016, and had some motor skills problems, and I started drawing to get that back. And Through was a product of that exercise. Mr. Tatters was a big product of that exercise because I was drawing things, and then when I started to get depth perception back, I was drawing sequentially, and it started making stories. And here we are, 2020. 2020, through several issues of Through have been done. An issue of Killing Worth has been done. The graphic novel, the memory thing's also there. The graphic novel, Mr. Tatters, and a few other projects for some other people, including John Rhodes. I work on Fat Girl. So if you bump into, oh dear, are we getting some stream trouble?
A little bit. We're getting some hiccups.
Okay. My wife is on a big conference call, and I can't interrupt that. I will die.
Fair enough.
Big enough, I can't even say what company she's with. So,
fair enough.
Yeah.
So,
so in recovering from the stupid things I've done in my life to my skull, I ended up with a graphic novel that, it's not so good, but I think it was written well. I think it was written better than the Three Jokers.
Well, I have not read Three Jokers, so I can't comment. But one of the things that I think I read the first volume and a half of Through, I think is where I got to with it. When I was like, okay, I'm going to put this away and I'll come back to it later. And that didn't quite happen.
Does it ever?
Sometimes. Well, and here's the thing, like that's the problem with digital comics, right?
Yes.
Is that like you can just collect them forever, right? Because they don't really take up that much space. Hard drives have a stupid amount of storage anymore. I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure, I don't know how old you are, Lonnie, but I know.
Am I.
yeah, that's fine. But I'm just saying that when we were, I know, I don't think it is stretching things too much to imagine that we're somewhere in the same 10 to 15 years of age. And when I was coming up, right, like 256K was a tremendous amount of space.
Oh, dude.
Right?
48 was the bomb.
so I remember, and so I mean, like the first time I got we being able to even when we moved to for me moving to the 3 1/4 floppies, and what are you gonna do with a meg and a half? That's stupid. No one will ever use that.
Well, you had two sides.
Yeah. So that was one of the things that, like, now we're in a thing where, like, I have a terabyte drive in the machine I'm on right now, and it's like there's no end to it. It's just a bottomless pit for comics to fill into.
Yeah. I've got 5 copies of Red Sonja that I've not even gotten into yet.
Yeah. So, and actually, I ended up a while ago. I ended up buying a trade of Civil War, Marvel Civil War, for like $3 at a dollar sale at a comic shop. And my kids are like, "You bought that already on a Kindle?" And I was like, "What? That's silly. I would have remembered buying this because I've wanted to read this for years just to mock it.
But for $1, you get to hold it."
Yeah. Well, since I brought it up, I almost want to go get it, but it's buried in my comics right now. But I was so angry when I finished reading that. I went through with a Sharpie and I circled every moment, like every out of character moment in the story, and there's something on nearly every page where there's just this character wouldn't say this, and this character wouldn't do this, and da 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 da. Yeah, I was so mad. Actually, when I first finished reading it, I looked at it and I chucked it across my living room.
Okay, get the cheapest copy of the Three Jokers you can. It will not be an heirloom in your house.
Oh my goodness. Well, and actually, funny, Nick in the chat says that he liked Three Jokers, but that he didn't like the ending.
I have lots of complaints, but my one word review is it is still a buy. It is a satisfactory. I feel like I got my $19 of pre-order out of it, whatever that was. But it tried to be the second coming of the Killing Joke at some points, and it didn't get there.
See, and for me, that's like a really low bar to get to, because I have an interesting story. I've told it on stream before, but not to you, so I'll tell you now, Lonnie.
Tell me.
So I have a number of years ago. This is probably 2015. One of the partners in our company, Chris Lawton, he came to us and he's like, well, in 2014, he came to us and he said, I want to do something different with the website. We've got content from our comics. We've got all the ad stuff. We've got our in-house stuff, but let's do some comic review blogging. Let's talk about some other kinds of stuff. Let's try to broaden the scope of things. Hey, Kelly, let's try to broaden the scope of things just a little bit and kind of move on to there. So I said, okay, I guess I could try this out. And so for a couple of years, we did weekly write-ups on whatever things we happened to do, and I mostly reviewed old comics. I called it Quarter Bin Follies, and it was my column, and it was a lot of fun. One moment. Anyway, so
that's okay. I just discovered there's another side to this window.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Hey, there's chat going on.
Wow. Jim Tuner, who is right about nearly everything, says every Marvel comic from 62 to 1980 is 118 gigabytes. You could easily fill a terabyte of comics. Yeah, that's very true.
Yes.
So, let's go this way. But anyway, so Chris,
you got Jim Turner, Kelly, Nicholas Muller,
and the Calvary Collective was here too.
All right.
So, so anyway, back to my story. So, we decided. So I had my little comic blogs and was kind of going with that. Well, Chris decided he wrote on more than just comics, but one of his articles was a review of The Killing Joke, where he went back and reread it and reviewed it, and he came up with the opinion that it was horribly misogynistic. He gives his reasons why and the whole thing. And I didn't agree, but it didn't feel right. And I hadn't read it in several years, probably a decade at that point. Mm-hmm. And so I went back to reread it. And I decided that he was wrong, that it's not misogynistic, it's misanthropic. That there's only really one character in The Killing Joke, and that's the Joker. Everybody else just exists as an unguided foil to reinforce the Joker.
Everybody else is a point on the map.
Yeah, everyone else is a point on the map. And even in the way it ends, it's just sort of like, man, I just hate this. I hate everything about this. I mean, not everything, right? Boland's art is ridiculously good. It is. The visual storytelling, as far as that goes, is really good. It's a page-turning book, right? But
it's Alan Moore, right?
Yeah, it's Alan Moore.
It's meaty stuff.
Yeah.
Weighty stuff.
It is weighty stuff. I wouldn't say it's meaty stuff. I don't think it's meaty, but it is weighty, and it carries on this sense of drama in the presentation very, very well, right? And so, like 19-year-old me, when I first read it, I was fascinated by it. It became like the definitive Joker story, and if you can't reach this bar, just don't even try writing the character.
Yeah.
And then by the time 34-year-old me got a hold of it again, sure enough, I had gotten sick of Joker stories. I didn't want to read anymore, and you're not going to get better than Killing Joke anyway. Then I went back to reread it, And I was like, I'm not sure this is really that good. I mean, and it does. I mean, it does have its merits, right? I mean, like I said, the art is phenomenal. The drama is accessible, all that kind of stuff. And for what it is, it does what it is very well. But it's just such an anti-human story that has no resolution to it that I just am like, I just don't like it.
It puts the human psyche on the canvas and just picks it apart.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I came to is that it made me start to question everything I'd thought about the great comics, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, well, if I didn't like The Killing Joke after all, what else don't I like? And it turns out to be nearly every big name, like platinum project the DC has done. I can't stand Kingdom Come. I really do. I hate it. I hate Marvel's isn't bad, but I hated Civil War. That of course that wasn't DC, that was Marvel, but like just a ton of the stuff that like what DC did with the Justice Society that I had been a huge fan of just didn't hold up when I started picking apart the pieces of it, and it's sort of like and then shortly after that, like realization on my part was when they launched the New 52, and I was like, you know what? You got just that. Go away. You suck. I'm so sick of you. I'm so sick of you. You've stolen my dreams and my childhood.
Yeah, that's the New 52 in a nutshell.
Oh man. Well, and that was a whole thing. But also coming up in the chat is Pickles.
My Pickles.
He's a Lancastrian fellow from over across the seas, and I just finished his comic that he and a fellow Shabby did. It's called Vestry, and it's a sword and sorcery story, and it was super fun. But the story isn't over. It's like there just wasn't quite enough story.
I see.
It's like it ended on a cliffhanger that I just was like, man, I just really wanted a little more resolution in my 24 pages. I'm still gonna buy the next one. So
okay. So that was Vestry. Let me figure out where my head is here somewhere. Okay, yeah. So my head's on this side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a mirror. You'd think it would be a mirror, but it's not a mirror.
I'm just gonna have to kind of nail my head to the chair.
Yeah. Well, don't do that, Lonnie. You'll have to learn to draw all over again.
Yeah. My wife would love to hear that.
Vestry 2 launches next Wednesday.
Really?
Yeah, right there.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is cool.
I haven't even seen the project yet, and there's already a new one.
Yeah. Well, actually, hang on a second. Everybody, don't go anywhere.
I'm here.
It's the best television on the internet. Okay. As it turns out, I haven't put it away yet.
Ah.
So it was sitting on my to sort pile. So
hey, this looks familiar.
Yeah, this little one here, it's the main character, Damon, I think his name is he's a barbarian bounty hunter kind of guy. He's like a mercenary. And in this story, this little short, when he gets hired to hunt down a water monster, and it's a really great little action piece. And in this one, he gets hired for more complicated things. But
yeah,
but yeah, it's there. Since this one's not bagged up, I'll show you some of the art on it because it's quite good. Shabby is East European, but I'm going to forget which country he is in. But he's does this. He's got this really great. I just love his stuff. Look at this. Check out this punch he lands on this fish man.
Ooh.
Bam. Just look at that. I
Yes,
love that.
sir.
Yeah.
That is some physical action there.
I'd love to have Pickles and Shabby on to talk about the story during the next campaign, but the problem is that they're in such different time zones. Like it's the middle. Oh, he's Czech.
Oh.
Shabby is Czech. I couldn't remember if it was Czech or if he was from Romania or where, but he's Czech. Anyway, and so it's like it's nearly a morning over in Czechoslovakia or Czech Republic.
Was he published by AP? Did I see an AP on there?
No, it's a GP, Gravestone Press. It's a fellow of mine, another friend of mine, Doug Garrett, has done some of that stuff. Okay. But he's they're doing a different arrangement with their next book, and I'm not sure what the situation is, who's handling that.
Okay.
So I can't speak to it, but I'm still pretty stoked about it. So Cross Comics has joined us. Rick, thanks for coming along. So I'm still putting all of the people together for it, but I know on the 3rd of December, total side note, Rick and I think Nick both are going to be on we're doing an Advent show first of the Christmas season. So we're going to be talking about Christianity, comics, and Advent. So I don't have the whole cast figured out. Not everybody has said they can come, but we'll see. Those guys I think are on. So anyway, so
I'll come along and play.
Oh, cool. That works.
Of course, I don't really know if we won't ask my wife.
Well, not right now. Maybe later. I'll let you figure that on off camera. It's not my business.
If you get one of my fingers in the mail, it may need to be a different day.
Well, my first concern is, how did you find out where I live?
Dude, she knows everything. They know everything, man. Are you married?
I am.
Okay, so they know everything.
They do know nearly everything. Yeah.
You think you can get away with it, but you can't.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing: is even the best liar knows the truth, and eventually, everybody talks.
Oh Lord.
I'll tell you honestly, okay, not to derail from it, but Pickles is on the chat. He says, I'm so happy like the ash can. I don't mean to, I don't want to bag on it, but because the main story doesn't finish, right? I can't really gauge that whole thing yet, but I love the ash can more because it had that. I love that beginning, middle, and end, right? So it was great. So I'm not saying I will love it more overall than what you do, but as far as being a contained story, man, it just really pushed those buttons for me. I love knowing how that all fits together. So
the story had an ending.
Oh yeah. This little one did, and it was I'm not going to show you, but it was really fun. So anyway,
yeah, that's fun.
Oh yeah, it's great stuff. So we talked about Through. What was your a little bit ago? So I'm going to go back to it because not everybody who is here now was here at the beginning. So Through, of course, was a comic that you did as you were kind of teaching yourself to draw again.
Yeah.
And it's a, I don't even know what you'd call it as far as like genre stuff. It's a science fiction. It's an early 20th century kind of a thing.
It is certainly alternate history.
Yeah.
Because there are elements of history, elements of the Depression, but it occurs in a geographically different America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and places that the main character goes to are even more geographically different. So he discovers a way to. I'm going to describe it as just hopping across chaos strings and by coincidence, that's the same set of coordinates that lands him in the same locale, but different altitudes, different, you name it.
Right. Which, I mean, I think makes a ton of sense because for the to kind of put a fine point on it. So the story is about a scientist who develops a way to travel between like dimensional planes or realities.
Right.
Okay?
And he intends to develop a radio.
Right. And to just communicate with whatever is out there. And he ends up being able to go there, and tragedy strikes him, and it's a there's some real drama with it there. It's a little bit Randian, but not. And I tell you, and so there's some fun stuff if you're into that sort of thing. But when he gets there, like everything's different. And I think one of the things I love about that idea is that because we know that the universe is constantly in motion, if the universe is an entanglement of other universes, then they also would be in motion. So your specific point or coordinating point in your universe is not the same as the coordinating point in another sub-universe because everything's rotating.
Right. Not at the same speed.
Yep.
Time is not constant. Facts are no longer constant. He could land on an Earth that is completely sci-fi. In fact, that happens in through number 4. They go to an Earth that is or a planet. I don't even think it was called Earth.
Yeah, I don't think you mentioned where it is.
Yeah. And so they arrive at this very sci-fi place, and it's nothing like we are. And well, I don't know after the past quarter maybe, but so these people are very advanced, and they just jack with aliens. They capture them because the explorers come to their planet, and they capture them, and they've got a force field technology. Don't let them out and torture them for a game show.
Oh man! See, I haven't gotten that far, and I'm starting to kick myself.
So this is an allegory, sort of, to reality TV, and that kind of picks fun. But drawing it, my favorite thing was the flying rocks hooked to the hang gliders.
Yeah.
You're going to like that story.
And so for those of you guys who are curious about it, the link to his website is there in the chat, and Through is available as a PDF download, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, if you can't find anything, I can guide you to it.
So, well, hey, let's do a share screen and just do that.
Okay.
Might as well, right?
How do we do that?
Well, I can do that.
You do that.
Yeah. So, click Brave tab, Through comic, and then I click back over here, and I tell it to feature or to spotlight that one. Hey, look, there we are.
That looks familiar.
Yeah. And then I just click over there and I navigate it. So,
you can click on any of those covers.
Any of these things are the shop here, right?
Yeah. And I think you can get a free version of any Through from that section of the website.
Okay. Yeah, fall. There's the fall. The first issue for free. Look at that.
Yep.
And available in PDF,
CBZ.
Yeah.
Yes. And if you aren't ready to support the series, go ahead and go down there. I think there is a CBZ and a PDF. You can just download it.
In the free, yeah.
Yeah.
And are the print copies, are those do you do distribution on those, or are those print on demand, or what's your theme for that one?
I print them with Kablam.
Okay.
So you could actually go over to Indie Planet and have them printed yourself. I think the way we have it set up, it'll kick me $1 or $2 over the print cost. But for the most part, it's not done as a major revenue generator. I'm having fun with Through, and you can tell I set up some absurdness. And
yeah, and I like I said, I've read the first volume and into the second, and it was a long night, so I called it one, right? Well, I haven't gotten back to it in 2.5 years.
Hey, I got a lot better after that first issue.
Well, and I mean, the thing is, I know like some of the art was rough. Now, here's part of the thing is I don't think you've ever looked at our webcomic Forces of Good and Evil, but it's pretty, especially the first part, it's pretty rough, right? And although I'm going back to the archives and coloring them, and it really pops a lot more in color than it did on just black and white. But even with it, like I look at the stories first, like legitimately, and those are the things that I'm primarily interested in. And I know that's a little weird for somebody who's into the comics per se. People are like, well, shouldn't you? Isn't the art? Well, yeah, the art's important, and like we're talking about with The Killing Joke, right? I mean, it's worth it for the art, right? Even if you don't think the story is like me, don't think it's necessarily a good story, the art is still phenomenal. You know, Boland makes it's worth the price of admission. But you know, I am more interested in having a solid story, and one of the things that surprised me, and it stuck with me through the years since I read it, but one of the things that surprised me about Through was that like how heavy and serious the stakes were, right? Mm-hmm. And you really set it up so that when he decides that he's going to leave the world to see what else is out there, you 100% buy it. And if you're like, well, if this happened to me, that's the only thing that makes any sense, is to jump into the void.
Right. And talk about a frying pan, right?
Yeah, right.
We'll skip that.
But at least, I mean, and at the same time, though, at least the thing about it that really strikes me about the scientist's character, and forgive me, I can't recall his name right now. But what strikes me about his character is that he owns it, right? Is like that this is the decision that he is making, regardless of the consequences, regardless of anything else. He's not going to be a victim, and I think that's something great. So,
and later you'll find that he has gone to great lengths to take care of his friends.
Yep.
And it's like in a lot of ways, it is the era America. That things were different. People were different to each other.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's a big. But anyway, it's a really fun. And I need to get back and finish it. So even though some of the art is rough in places, it still very much gets the point across, and it is like the story is really dynamic. So, but what is now the current book that you are crowdfunding? Let's talk about that a little bit. You've got 8 days left, yeah?
About 8 days. It is Destiny Mountain Demon on Indiegogo. And it is do you remember Night Stalker?
Kolchak?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Okay. I've not seen Night Stalker. I've merely read about it.
Okay.
Because it's just a little bit before my time.
Yeah. Well, a young man was watching Night Stalker. He's about my age, since I can say he's a young man, and something significant happened later in his life. He produced the X-Files. And the X-Files was the 80s version or 90s version of Night Stalker. So the whole point of Night Stalker is this reporter goes out and gets into supernatural trouble all the time.
Yep.
And this is a similar situation. We start out with a reporter who is fumbling into a supernatural situation on his, as he calls it, his last spark of luck and probably his last quarter tank of gas, and discovers a supernatural murder that took place involving a serial killer in the 50s. This is the setup of the first page. So there's all kinds of horror and scary stuff that takes place surrounding these two children. Then the supernatural elements take place and intervene to protect them. This is a pilot for a possible horror series. I've done it in black and white. It's all Pantone. Kind of like Vampirella, more EC style. But I wanted you to be able to dig into that black and white element. And I do like to draw girls, by the way. And
very many people do.
Yes. So it's a promise of a beginning and an end for a story, and there is enough meat to come back and do issue 2 if people are interested in it. And as of today, there are 22 people interested in it. I'm a nobody. I'm thrilled that I've got that much attention. And if we could scare up a little bit more, that would be fantastic. Dude, I don't want to tell you about the murderer because
this is a ridiculously gruesome panel.
I'm sorry.
That's straight out of EC Comics right there. Look at that.
Kind of. You know, I read those way back when, just like you did. Well, we're still reading them. Let's admit it.
And this image right here, and this I love this right here. That is so much. That's evocative.
Yeah.
So
you really get the sense of that variant cover that, you know, those boys are running through just a mist of uncertainty, and it's coming down on them.
So now there are a lot of real world ghost stories, right?
Yeah.
Did any of those influence the way you approach this story?
Yes. There are a number of stories that did, and I originally had the assistance of another writer, and he poured over how'd he put it, a valley of stories that were somehow interconnected. And unfortunately, he didn't stick with the project, and I ended up taking his notes that from 2 years ago, and now we have a finished story. And my goodness, the more that I look at this type of event, the more I'm hearing about this type of event. Not that there are these kind of demons specifically,
right?
But that there is something that happens, and it just seems to swirl around serial repeat killers. People really
I have a
distressed.
No, I do. I have this suspicion that maybe we were the real demons all along. You know.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
truth to that.
Not to get too not to get too speculative about it, because I absolutely do believe in a spiritual dimension, a spiritual reality. But we're part of that, and the there's the darkness in the heart of man that is it's big. It's a lot bigger deal than we modern folk want to admit. I think
Right.
we all want to be the hero, and a lot of us are not.
Yeah. I've got this one page. The story it fits very well within Catholicism, but it infringes a little bit on Protestant doctrine. You still have me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead. So in this one page, in the climax of the story, we actually see the wide gate that leads to destruction and the narrow gate. And that's the point of the whole story. I don't proselytize in this one, but it's intentional that, hey, this is a Christian horror consequence in a real world afterlife, really bad situation if you go there. And that's on top of all the other really bad stuff. So there's already a texture, a canvas of really bad things that we can go back to and build on with our reporter, with the supernatural characters. Spoiler, the serial killer has a tough time toward the end. And
well, thank God. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of stories that the serial killer gets away in. I mean, No Country for Old Men, it kind of works, but I don't want every story to be No Country for Old Men.
Oh man, that hero Joker. Yeah. So this is this. I drew the artwork for this story 2 years ago. So it was after Mr. Tatters, I believe, and my writer fell away, and I couldn't get it published without his permission. So I ended up rewriting the script, adding some new pages, and producing a different narrative, different impact, and with Sotomayor's first name is Eric, I believe he's Eric, with his help doing some of the inks. He did about half the inks for me, and we ended up with I think a beautiful black and white comic for that EC style.
Mm-hmm.
What was I going to say? There was an idea, a thought, and then it just kind of poof. Here she comes. She's here.
To be completely honest, I don't remember what you were going to say.
Supernatural spirit is in the other room.
Well, that's terrifying.
Yes, dear. I'm gonna die.
Well,
but I would love to get some more circulation, some more support as we go through the last week of funding, and after that, waiting to see if enough attention comes to get issue 2. I'm already drawing my own barbarian kind of magic steampunk fantasy land. I don't know what to really call it, so I've just made up a bunch of words and stuck them together.
I think that's sometimes how it goes. So I don't know if you're familiar. I don't know if you're familiar at all with the work of Doug TenNapel, but he tends to have a convention with naming things. He just takes two words and puts them together. Like there's Creature Tech, there's Rat Fist, there's Earthworm Jim, Bigfoot Bill, you know. And then you have
is he Earthworm Jim?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cat Scratch. That was one of his. Now, Cat Scratch started as Gear. That's just one word. And he's also done Flink and Cardboard. That was one word. But wait, he's done something like 28 graphic novels.
Oh Lord.
So, yeah. A lot of.
Well,
I have a few.
It looks like it.
Over on my shelf. I was actually just flipping through this one last night. Bigfoot Bill Volume 1.
Oh Lord.
So, actually, here is, since I've got it handy, here's the Earthworm Jim Volume 1 that he just released last year. That it's a new graphic novel based upon the concepts that he built into the video game then he and the Shiny Team built in the video game. So,
what is it with cows and aliens? I've never figured that out.
I don't honestly know where the cow comes from, but I do know the first volume is called Launch the Cow. Right? But I don't know why, and it's not specifically explained in the story, other than Jim lands, like the suit that turns him into a super being. The suit from space lands on in a field full of cows. So the worm,
that makes sense.
The worm becomes sentient, and then for a moment in time believes it's a cow, because that's the first thing he saw. So obviously that must be his mother.
Oh, hi, Mom.
But he's wrong. Of course.
Spoilers!
Worms are not known for being intelligent. That's part of the thing about Earthworm.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's a whole thing. But anyway, I think that a lot of times when we come up with ideas, it is just a matter of taking two things that we kind of like and mashing them together and see how it works.
I've had a lot of placeholders become permanent, man. It's embarrassing.
Well, it's true, right? Like unobtainium from Avatar, right?
Oh God, that is the worst one. The worst one.
And I have this suspicion, right, that he left it. Like I think it was a placeholder to begin with.
We got to come up with an answer to this.
You disappeared there, Lonnie. Okay, so, Lonnie, I missed you.
Am I back?
Okay. Yeah, I think so. Very, very slowly back.
I'll talk slowly.
Okay. Yeah. But I think my theory with unobtainium is I think it started as a placeholder, and then he says, you know what? This is an inside joke that people just know who are science fiction fans. Let's leave it for the hardcore fans, and they'll think it's cute. And I think like 6 of them thought it was cute. And everybody else was like,
I paid $20 to see this movie.
I can't believe this is how stupid you think I am, Cameron.
And then there was Dark Fate.
Yeah. So what? Well, I think the bigger problem that I had with Avatar was that it was just Fern Gully.
Oh, you're right. Oh, you're right. That's exactly right. My thing was, why didn't they just bombard this planet from space? You don't even have to go down and visit these people.
Mm-mm. Or introduce them to technology slowly and earn their trust and then convince them to harvest it for them.
Give them Facebook.
There you go. It's already plugged into their brains.
Yeah.
Just upload social media into the neural network of the planet, and then nobody will be paying attention to realize that you've harvested all the unobtainium.
It's the first on-screen bestiality I think I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah. Something.
Come here, horsey.
That's a little oversimplification, I think, Lonnie. But
it wasn't remote control.
Yeah. Good night, kids. There's a night. So let's think. So you've been doing comics since 14, give or take. And of course we talked about Through, which is the one I've read, and Mr. Tatters. Tell us a little bit about what Mr. Tatters is, and I will bring that up on screen to share this thing here a little bit.
So Mr. Tatters is a story that revolves around a man who was killed by a holy relic from Egypt. And because of that, he was caught in an afterlife state, and combined with some rags, some mummification artifacts that were sealed up nice and tight, and his spirit was captured in those rolls of bandages, and somehow, I forget how the story lays it out, that was all stuffed away and made safe, or maybe it was just fireproof. The building he was in was completely engulfed in flame. Everyone else dies, and 200 or so years later, those rags, those mummification relics, are reopened and re-exposed to the world, and he becomes this creature that remembers being a man, which is just rags. And he slowly starts to figure out how to manipulate his wrappings, and he isn't all vengeance, but he's not all there either.
Mm-hmm.
So he develops friendships with random people on very guttural levels, and a child is kidnapped, and the whole story is a metaphor for the sexualization of children. Are we on YouTube? The contextualization of children. Yes, I had to come up with a code word, and they're pulled, the way that children are being pulled into really unfortunate situations. And I had the opportunity to meet up with someone who is actually performing a lot of journalism through sports figures, and the way that sports figures are constantly being used for fronts to bring children into those industries.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of ick. And what I represent fairly realistically is who the players are, even though I use substitutes. The players for that business are very high level, which, hey, laptop, we now know. So I'm not going to say out loud Jeffrey Weiner, but Clinton killed Epstein. And I didn't know about any of that stuff, and neither did anybody that I had dealings with at that point. The book does have a page bringing specific awareness and has a philanthropic intention of raising awareness for young people. Hey, this is what's out there. Parents, this is what's out there. If you see this, this is what you do. This is the phone number you call. So it's a heavy book. It's a heavy book.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Art-wise, there are ups and downs. When I was inking it, I ran into a problem that I just couldn't finish inking it. Some of the pencils were defined enough that I just left them alone and published the book. So the end result is very, very readable, but like I said, very heavy, and has an ending that allows us to go back to these people, and it has an epilogue that will make you laugh your butt off. I had to do something better. It was too heavy.
Well, that is actually something I know. When you were first working, or had just finished it, we spoke about it a little bit over chat, but I was really curious to see kind of where it went with it, and I never did. I just didn't follow up with you on it. Life happened. I can't even remember. But what is but yeah, I would definitely be intrigued to look into that again. So it's $6 for the digital and $20 for the print. Is that what I was reading right?
Yes, it's right. Seems like that one's right about 100 pages, 120 pages.
100 and something.
Let's
go back. 102.
It's thick.
Yeah.
Perfect bound, so it's not a cheesy print.
Oh, and when you're looking at 20 pages, 102 pages with free shipping. That's virtually a steal for an indie book. So,
and I'm not doing this to try to make a ton of money. I'm doing this to find and create an audience. So I'm not Ethan Van Sciver, but at this point, I think I have actually put out more copies of independent.
I don't know that I can comment on that. More issues anyway. Definitely more issues. At least since 2017.
Not more pages. I don't think.
I don't know. I'd have to count. But I don't feel like you. I don't. That's not to bring up too much, but there's definitely some things I don't want to bother with, and counting EVS pages is on my list.
Wow.
So now,
should that comment have offended EVS, I will happily buy the pie.
Yeah, I don't care. Once again, there's things I don't care about. So one of your other projects is Killing Worth, which I don't know anything about.
Because I was so new to the community, I just couldn't get any traction with Killing Worth. It's a pure sci-fi story. Is written to be a 4-parter with a stretch of becoming a 6, and think of it as Aliens meets body horror, and it's just every time you walk around a corner, something is likely to walk out of a very pleasant group of people and do something very bad. and um, it's a decently complex built world, but all these civilized people have got to get off this planet, and they find out that there is a deep, dark reason that they're having to leave, and that they're being manipulated by other people. And I think that's the best way to describe it without blowing the future story. I'm wanting to go back and do the rest of Killing Worth, but I have to build an audience for it first.
Right.
It's too big.
So how long do you reckon that'll be? I mean, it's 26 pages for the first issue, right? Or the first part.
Mm-hmm.
Are you seeing that being like 100-page story also when it's done, or?
Oh, I think it has to be. I think it has to be to do it justice, because we've got people that are part of society, people that are part of an indigenous population, and then there is a people that are of an elite caste that we don't even introduce. These people don't even meet in the first part, and they're completely manipulated by this elite caste of people that I think the best way to describe them is they're farming humans.
Mm. So
big story. Worth is all action. He's that frozen left behind guy that's
right.
Break glass in case of trouble. Somebody broke the glass. So, unfortunately, he's naked.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he kind of has to be, right? I don't know why there's some sort of unwritten rule about that, where like your time tossed warrior either is Captain America or nude. Those are the choices.
Well, in this case, he's in a life support capsule. So there are certain tubes and protuberances.
Right.
And hey, at least he's got a cute nurse that's pulling him out. Okay, maybe I shouldn't have said pulling him out.
No, that's fine. That wasn't the part that I was cringing about it. You said tubes and protuberance. I can't even say it.
Protuberances.
Thank you.
Yeah, I need a drink too now.
Yeah. Oh, man. I'll tell you what. And so those are the things that, if I recall from flipping through your thing, that are available on the website. And I went ahead and put the thing on the chat there.
Oh, thanks.
But it's so people can click on it from the chat, and we actually I set it up so we stream on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch at the same time.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a pretty neat little platform. Of course, I don't think I get a lot of views on Twitch, but I do it anyway. So,
okay.
But no, I think it's one of the fun things I think about, which kind of the stuff that you have, and something that I know I've wished I could get more into, is you have a variety of stuff, right? There's all these different stories that you have. Now, do you have any kind of vision for like a grand universe, or are these all stories that just stand entirely by themselves?
I intend all of these stories to stand by themselves, but there's nothing preventing them from being in the same locality, same time. There's, I'm not writing into any of these, with the exception of this new barbarian story. It's a kind of fantasy that is going to have. Look at that! I've got a headband. It's a kind of fantasy that has to be in a different solar system for now.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So for
Well,
the
and I mean,
most part, these could be in a similar universe, but I'm not trying to make a marketable IP out of
right.
a comic universe. That's the Lonnie verse is just going to be fun to say. I don't think that I want to push hard to make that happen.
Yeah. I can dig that. Well, I mean, one of the things too is when you look at like the whole concept of through, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that multiplicity, right? That
It's a
whole,
universe by itself.
yeah, and many of them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
the idea that these things might coexist within the mind of Lonnie Webb definitely does not exclude them from anything else, but also there's just this commonality with it. So I mean, that there's that already a through line
Yeah.
built in, whether you ever wanted to do that or not. They wouldn't have to be connected to be connected. But that's
There. Yeah. It's the title through is in a lot of ways a play on words, and that a lot of people in the first issue have metaphorically said, "I'm through with this." The woman, "I'm through with this." The other woman, "Yeah, I'm through with that." Of course, people didn't say "I'm through with that" in the 30s, but um, we're about to see Hitler rise to power. I don't remember if we're in 36 or 38. I think we're in 36. And so the story is leading up to Hitler's rise to power, and um, will go places eventually.
cool. So do you have have you mapped out, I don't know if you have like a production schedule that you work toward, or just kind of what as you find time, but have you mapped, you kind of know when you feel like you're going to go back to through?
Um, I hadn't actually plotted it out, but I am about due to go back to it. The only reason that it hasn't really popped up on my radar again this year is the amount of ghost writing and production work that dropped in my lap. Um, I mean, as far as making money goes, I get paid most to spill ink and paint for other people,
Mm-hmm.
which I didn't expect that. Um, I mean, that's a weird thing that I didn't see coming to me for sure. But I've got through number 5, and we've got our main hero and his team really feeling dedicated to go back and save that Polish family that the well the one gentleman was murdered in issue 1. His family is still in Poland. Poland is
Right.
breaking down. Is it Poland or Finland that was breaking down about that time?
I
Anyway,
think it was, yeah.
there was snow everywhere. Uh, maybe it was Norway.
Yeah,
The
usually snow in the winter
the yeah
in
the
Northern Europe.
the Nazis walked into Finland and just basically assumed control and used Finland to do a lot that I had never heard in history. And so we're going to go into that. Try to rescue a family, um, and following the events of through number 4, there's going to be repercussions, such as big and bad. What do you want to have happen in through number 5?
Well, see, I haven't finished.
You got to get there.
I can't really even make a guess at it. See, this is me being a bad host. Because here's like last night, I knew you were coming on, right? And last night I knew I was going to have a light day today with stuff, so I went ahead and said, you know what, I'm going to spend a little time reading comics tonight. So I read Vestry, I read Wanpool 1 and 2, which is what this badge is from. Some other folks of mine just got some comics to me, and so I read those, and I was really feeling good about it. And I sat there, and you know what I didn't think? I didn't think you should catch up on through, because I bet Lonnie's going to have real questions, real ideas about that.
Email me a list. Just email me a list. I'll send you files.
Oh my goodness sakes, it was ridiculous. But that's not. I didn't even stop to think about it. I was just, I don't know. I'm a bad host.
I've got 5 Red Sonjas. I've paid for them. I've got them. They're on my hard drive. Why haven't I read them? I read the 3 Jokers. I spent time reading the 3 Jokers, and I have not read the 3 Sonjas. And okay, I admit it. The only thing you're going to get out of Red Sonja is beaver shots. But
yeah.
Okay.
If you get some, there's usually some decent violence. Yeah. Occasionally some political intrigue. But mostly bikini. Chainmail bikinis.
Mm-hmm. That's fine.
Of course, I actually know a guy who makes chainmail bikinis in real life. So that's a thing. I don't know why. That's I guess I kind of know why that's a thing, but I also don't really understand it either.
My wife might be needing a Christmas present.
Well, I can give you his address.
Post a link.
He was actually the dude was it's not just that he does all kinds of mail stuff, but he was at our mini-con here up in Scottsbluff. We host a annual mini comics convention at our local mall, and this guy came up.
I've been to a few of those.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not entirely sure it's worth all the work, but it's a lot of fun.
I've never made my gas money back.
Oh, neither have I. Well, I mean, I can't say we've never made our gas money back to the one we host, because we just drive across town, and I live in a small town, right? So there's 30,000 people in my county. We get a couple hundred, people to come out to the mini-con. It's a fun time, but it does take several months of planning to pull it off.
I know that. I have put together a couple of mini cons. It's actually computer, a massive computer user group on a university campus, and it took, I guess we had 10 people planning that thing out, and you'd think it would be just a checklist. Ultimately, it was a checklist.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it always, I don't know, in my experience with these sort of things, it almost always falls to one guy to double check that everybody else's checklist got checked. Mm-hmm. So
they call it project management.
Oh, I suppose they do, but it's always like, okay, so we'll break up all the tasks. Here's all the tasks you take care of. Here's all the tasks you take care of. Here's all the tasks you take care of. And I don't want to sound like I'm taking all the glory, because sometimes I'm the guy, sometimes I'm not the guy, right? I've been involved in mini cons and festivals and other things, so sometimes I've been the guy, sometimes I'm not the guy. But there's always some guy who's always like, okay, dude, where's your checklist? Let me see your checklist. Are you done with your checklist? Okay. Chuck's done with his checklist. Okay. Your checklist is just my checklist. Yes.
This is true. This is
So
true.
what do you bring to the committee, dude? Your checklist.
I'm here to check your box, buddy. All right. Let's see. Gotta make sure. Okay, I haven't yet. So, yeah, messages pop up on my computer if I do something wrong.
Oh, you guys have the modern lifestyle figured out, right?
Cheese treat. She who shall not be named.
Actually, I used that joke in a comic many years ago. But so I don't know if I don't know if you've ever read my comics at all. I wouldn't assume anyone has, frankly. But the main product of the last 2 decades of my life in terms of creative output has been our webcomic Forces of Good and Evil. And it is a high school dramedy about kids in superhero and supervillain high schools. And we started it back in we workshopped it back in 2003, Chris and I, and we started putting it on the web in 2006. And we have almost 600 pages of comics that are up on our website. So
600,
almost 600 pages. Yeah, about it's about 27 individual stories that come up to about 600 pages. So we've done a lot. So, yeah, I'll do that. In fact, I'll drop it in the chat here so other people can check it out too.
Please do.
It's a long URL. In fact, one of the partners came to me, Barry, says, should we get a smaller URL that's easier to type in? And I said, well, I don't know, man. We've had this one for 15 years. And
forcesofgoodandevil.net.
Yeah.
That's descriptive. You can probably get away without spelling it incorrectly.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, so that's the ticket. Anyhow,
yeah,
we have it so that we've got it's a large amount of stuff, but one of the storylines is that it's about 2 friends, and one of the friends is kind of a jock and kind of a bully, and the other friend is a very, very goody two shoes nerd. And the goody two shoes gets sent to supervillain high school, and the bully gets sent to superhero high school. And so it's this fish out of water dynamic that they've got going on there. And the reason I use that joke is that the hero student, Chad ends up sort of dating one of the villain students, and one of Greg's classmates. And Greg is refers to her as she who shall not be named, and Chad's very offended that he'd talk about his significant other that way. So it's like, dude, don't do that. So that was the context for that joke, but I probably explained it to death, but there you have it.
Panic at the Ren Fair. I think everybody has had that experience.
Yeah. Well, and that's the most recent story. And that actually is yeah. So I'm really proud of that story as a whole. It's a Chad centric story. It's mostly about Chad and about he has discovered, well, if you're going to read it, I'll just let you read it. But basically the premise of that story is that Chad and some of his students from Hero School have been sent to a Ren Fair in Michigan. And that
sounds like my definition of hell.
They live in Wisconsin, and so they've been sent to a Ren Fair in Michigan. And at this Ren Fair it's acting as a cover for an extra credit activity for a bunch of hero schools. And so all of these other superhero students are come together to participate in activities, and the winner will get an extra stake in the lottery that allows them to determine whether they get into a superhero apprenticeship after high school. So, because in our universe, if you're in superhero high school, you can either go to superhero college, or you can go into an apprenticeship.
Uh-huh.
Right, those are kind of your options for higher education. And apprenticeships are faster, and you get known as a hero, all that kind of stuff. And so you
get to be Wonder Boy.
But not everybody gets the leg up on it if you don't have that. So and so that's the thing, is you get extra stakes getting into the apprenticeship thing if you qualify through this extra credit activities. And so,
man, I'm loving this.
Oh yeah,
this is a great pitch.
Oh, I really enjoyed the story. It was super fun. And the most of the pencils were done by a fellow named Rolf Gardeau, who's an older guy, lives near me here in town, and he's done most of the last 3 stories. He's done the primary artwork on, but on this story, additional art and inks are done by my son Taliesin, too. And so it was a lot of fun to work with him on the project. And then we are also working on another story right now that's not going to be a webcomic, that we're going to be doing as either a crowdfunded book or something, that is a spin-off from Forces. It's called I've Been to Hell, and it's Chad and Greg and their friend Demon Priest, who's another villain student, and they are taking a spring break trip to Demon Priest's grandfather's home in hell. And Rolf's done the pencils on that, and Tolly's doing the inks. And it's really great. I love that the way that's turning out. So hopefully this weekend I'll be sharing a little bit of the a couple of the pages that are in the rough state for that story. We'll share the first couple of that. So
nice.
Yeah, pretty stoked about it. So
nice. So that's are you a podcast listener? Where are you picking up your inside dirt?
Oh, I well, I mean, depends on which kind of dirt. So if you're talking about comics, I just like pay attention to kind of the people that I know, and a lot of Twitter, Facebook, that kind of thing, and just kind of see what's going on in the indie sphere as far as that goes. I don't do a lot of like mainstream comics. I just kind of quit buying them. I'm probably going to go back and pick up. I was getting Hawkman pretty regular, Venditti's Hawkman, and now that series is ending, I'm probably going to pick up the back issues where I missed off because it was really good. But at the time I was like, well, I got to decide how I'm going to spend my money. And I'm a diehard Aquaman fan. I love Aquaman, but Kelly Sue DeConnick, 5 issues into her run, I was so angry that I called my shop up and I was like, I don't want any more of these. I said, I know you pre-order. I'll buy the next 2 months because they already ordered them for me, but I don't want any more of them. And my shopkeeper was like, you don't have to get any more. We'll find someone that'll buy those too. I was like, I appreciate that, Amber. You're a saint. I was so mad.
Yeah.
So I mean, because okay, I don't want to get too much into it, but I will say this much so one of the things I have loved about Aquaman virtually my entire life, and I was into Aquaman when I was very small, and then I wasn't into comics. I liked the idea of Aquaman from the Filmation series that I saw and from Super Friends. Mm-hmm. And but then I wasn't really into comics until I was 11 or 12. Well, I was 11. And then I got into Batman, and I got into that whole world. Mm-hmm. I didn't kind of dip back into Aquaman until I was 19. And I was just and suddenly I saw all of the mythology and all that kind of stuff. And what I loved about Aquaman was that he's one of the heroes who had a good solid marriage, and he was had all these things that there was a stability to him, and these kind of ideas.
He's a good guy.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Has he had tragedy? Yes. Has he sought super hard to live beyond that? Yes. And so I just always loved that about it, and the idea that even if he's faltered, he still wants to be a good guy.
Yeah.
And so I kind of dipped out of DC after the New 52 launched, right? So I didn't really see a lot of it, but a bunch of my fellow Aquaman fans are like, no, it's really, really good. And so I was kind of getting back into it, and I was picking him up when I started picking him up because I kind of quit buying comics altogether for a few years, and I got back into it with Abnett's run on Aquaman, and it was just solid stuff. I mean, the court intrigue and the monster battles and the magic, and it was just all of the things. It was great, and they had the forbidden love between Mera and Arthur. They hadn't gotten them fully reintroduced from everything, and it was I could get along with it. But then Pseudoconic brings in the story where Aquaman forgets who he is, and there's this thing where he finds himself on the island of the forgotten sea gods. Spoiler alert, that's what's going on there. What he realizes that he had gotten lost, and he'd lost his memory because he was involved in some sort of kerfuffle in the ocean. But that happened because he ran away from Atlantis. And he ran away from Atlantis because Mera announced that she was pregnant. And he didn't feel like he could handle the emotional strain, so he bails.
What?
And then the whole thing is like, that sets up the next phase in the story, which is him going back to Atlantis to re-earn her trust, right? And in the middle of it all, she's supposed to, I guess she gave birth to their daughter, and I quit reading at that point, and they just released a new wedding issue. So they're back to being married again. But the thing that got me about the whole deal is just like, there has never been an Aquaman written who would be, I don't care how they've done it or what issues they've put into it, no Aquaman is going to be like, oh, you're pregnant? Well, so long. I'm conflicted. Yeah, that's not him. He'd have been just like, well, why aren't we already married?
I save people, not you.
Not you. Oh, child. That was it. I just was like, I was so angry.
Superman Returns.
Well, yeah. The thing was okay. I will say, of course, I haven't watched it in a while because I got off talking about that with somebody a few months back. But I'm pretty sure that in Superman Returns, he did. Whoa. Are you there?
I'm here.
There was a loud rushing sound, and I can't hardly hear it.
Oh, that was me sliding across the fake leather.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I should have hit the mute button. Here, I can do it again. It's kind of like a massive wave.
It did sort of sound like that. But.
Yeah. So, Superman Returns, super deadbeat dad.
Well, yeah, but the thing is like I have not seen it in a while, so I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the setup is that he was unaware that Lois was pregnant when he took off, and that's on her.
Hey. Yeah, kind of, sort of. So there is a fan edit called Kal-El, Man of Tomorrow. Save your brain cells. Go figure out how to torrent that thing down and put it next to your DVD of Superman Returns. And never watch that DVD again. Because when you take out the stupid plots that they wrote into that, it's actually a good movie.
Yeah.
Kevin Spacey steals it. But it's actually a good movie when you throw away the dumb plot. Anyway, I'm also a fan of the despecialized versions of Star Wars and the revisited versions of Star Wars.
Yeah, I will say, when it comes to Star Wars, the one thing that I think that was a vast improvement, because I think there was one thing, a vast improvement in the special editions, was that Cloud City is not boring looking anymore.
Yes.
That's the only thing that's better.
I agree with that, but it doesn't need that.
Oh, that's true.
The first movie needs Han Solo to shoot first. So Revisited puts that back. The despecialized version takes away the crawl. You see it the way it premiered on that day. There is no Chapter 4. There is no crawl. The movie drops the way it landed that day, May the 4th in 1977. And it's pretty damn good. You look at the Revisited version, that fan editor actually makes his own special edits, and it's pretty good. So you've got your choice. A special edition that doesn't look like a sales job to other studios to specialize their old tired movie properties into something they can sell. Yeah. And of course, you also have, what is it, the Phantom edit of the first 3 Star Wars movies that edits, I mean, I take that back, the first 3 chapters.
Right.
That takes Chapter 1 and reduces it to 90 seconds.
Reduces it to 90 seconds?
Yes. That's all it's needed.
Yeah.
Yeah. No Jar Jar Binks. Lightsaber battle. Okay, time for the next movie.
I tell you. So there's a YouTube commentator called Belated Media. And he did a commentary, 3 commentary videos about if he was going to repitch Star Wars episodes 1, 2, and 3, what changes that he would make to line things up. And they're full versions, right? They're not full movies there, but they're the whole story, beginning, middle, and end, how to add stuff in. And it's really does a really thorough job of turning the 1, 2, and 3 to be Obi-Wan's story, which preserves 4, 5, and 6 as Luke's story, and then makes the entire thing about Anakin instead of, so it's got these 3 movements, these 3 separate stories that all are interweave together. It makes it a lot more impactful. And I think that, like, of course, hindsight's 2020, right? Everybody knows that it looks right after things come out.
Well,
but,
if you look at the pitch that was on the back of the Burger King poster in 1977, I mean, that was all we knew about Star Wars, was what was on the back of that poster that they gave out to all us kids that bought a glass. And all we knew was Ben and not Anakin, Luke's father, were because Anakin, that girly name, didn't really exist. That was made up later, and they were both good pilots. They were both Jedi, and one of them faced Darth Vader and died. Darth Vader was a distinct person. So, if you want to make Luke's father the beguiled Darth Vader, okay, fine. But you have to go back and you have to tell 1, 2, and 3. You have to tell Ben and Anakin. It's got to be Ben and Anakin. And last scene of number 3, all you need is for him to look away and be tempted. That's all you need. You got 20 years to go. We don't need that filled in. We don't have to see it. But anyways, the critical drinker's been taking whacks at the Disney sequel trilogy.
I disacknowledge that exists. So. It's just like, there really are only there's people talk about like a fourth Indiana Jones movie, and they're crazy. That never happened.
I don't think it happened. I don't remember
Happened. Absolutely.
Yeah. Was there ever a Ryan Reynolds superhero movie with a green suit? No.
I don't know what it would be. I mean, he'd make a decent Britt Reed, but I don't think they've ever.
That's a good point. He would.
He really would. He'd have to tone down the snark a little bit, but I think he could do a really good job of it because he does a good sincere. So, but I don't know. They've not cast him as anything else green, so I don't see why they couldn't.
Yeah, no, I think that anything else green that's just Jon Stewart. No, he's a black guy.
Yeah. Well, I don't know who I'd cast as Jon Stewart.
Yeah. Not Kryborg. Nope.
Well, yeah, that dude, man, I tell you what, that was a. So, are you one of the people? And we're almost at 2 hours here, but are you one of the? Which is fine. It's fine because we'll wrap it around here. But are you one of the people that is looking forward to the Justice League, the Snyder Cut, as they call it?
I'm looking forward to it with the same enthusiasm that I'm looking forward to the Last Jedi special cut.
Is that a thing?
There supposedly is. And I have no proof to back this up. But there supposedly is a 4-hour cut of both The Last Jedi and The Last Skywalker. The Last Palpatine.
God. Right. That's
if they put together the movie where Matt Smith is the villain, yes, I want to see it. Yeah. I mean, it still won't be Star Wars.
And actually when I saw The Last Jedi, when I first saw The Last Jedi, somebody said, "What do you think?" I said, "Well, if I'd never seen Star Wars, I'd have liked it okay." As a movie, it's not necessarily horrible.
Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. The one heroic act that justifies Finn's existence in that movie. Rose Tico castrates him.
Well, yeah, but that's because you've seen Star Wars though, so you care about heroic endings, right?
I've seen Sergeant York. I've seen To Hell and Back. I've seen my socks.
Anyway,
that was stupid.
It was stupid. It was
right out.
Well, and the greatest thing about that, you're roboting pretty bad, so I'll just keep
I'm roboting.
But one of the things that's really bad about that too is like we won't stop them by killing what we hate but saving what we love. And my immediate thought is, what the hell do you think he was doing? like, honestly, Ryan, come on, what do you think is going on here? But the thing about the back to the Snyder Cut is, first of all, I am actively disinterested in it, and the first reason, not the main reason, the first reason is that there is no Snyder Cut. Right?
Yes, there is no Snyder's Cut.
There is no Snyder Cut. There is a movie that didn't get made that is now getting made, and they're marketing off of a lie, and I disrespect that instantly because there is no Snyder Cut. They are shooting a new movie, and they're going to put in pieces that Snyder said, okay, I'll take this piece from Joss, and I'll take this piece from Joss. I'll take this piece from Joss because I didn't finish a movie. Now, he had personal problems, and that's fine, whatever. But it's not a Snyder Cut. It's a new movie that is pieced together out of another dude's movie that was pieced together out of part of his movie.
Yeah.
And so I instantly don't respect that. Second of all, is I have never seen anything that Zack Snyder has directed that I've liked. Nothing. I didn't like Man of Steel. I didn't like Batman v Superman. I didn't like 300. I didn't like Watchmen. I'm done. No, Snyder, you cannot have my money. I disliked all of it.
I liked parts of Watchmen.
Yes, I did like parts of Watchmen. I liked some of the cinematography at Watchmen, specifically the fight scene in the prison. I liked that. That's about it.
I liked. No, there was not one damn thing I liked about Man of Steel. Because, like I said, you take Superman Returns, you've got Christopher Reeves.
Mm-hmm.
You throw away the bad subplot, and you've got a Superman movie. You've got a Superman movie. Make another one just like it. But the 300, there again, you could prune the stupid crap out, but you're still looking at a graphic novel that was not made for the widescreen.
Yeah. And see, and the other part of it that it comes to for me, because I haven't read the graphic novel, right?
But I haven't read it, but
the things that I disliked about 300 are, one, like, there is so little known about, like, in the general populace about ancient history, right? That, like, it's so wrong. There is so much historical inaccuracy. It's like, if you wanted to make a fantasy, just make a fantasy. Set it in a fantasy land, you know, call it Conan, call it whatever the heck you want. But, you know, there's no reason to, like, say, you know, because there's real history that is not being told that nobody talks about. If you're going to make a story about Xerxes, make a story about Xerxes, right? I don't want to see, like, I have no interest in watching Abe Lincoln Vampire Slayer, right?
Okay, I confess, I don't know why, but there's some sick attraction to that movie, and I don't know why.
But I mean, I would just rather see, if it's a history, let it be history. You know, tell the stories that are real, because they're really interesting. And the Battle of Thermopylae, like, more people should know about it. But it's not really the 300. It's really the 1300. There were 300 Spartans, and Sparta was an impressive thing. Don't forget that. But there was 1,000 other soldiers that backed them up. And they, you know, that become, when you get the terrain, you get the skill of the Spartans, and you get, you know, another 1,000 soldiers, you have a significant fighting force that's worth reckoning. Absolutely. But that's real history. Let's talk some real history in it. There's no reason. And one of my buddies, it was actually Chris Lawton, the co-founded the Ideal with me. He says it's supposed to be a propaganda piece, and I said, okay. I don't see that changes anything, right? Because it's written from the point of view of somebody coming back to tell the story, right? We're gonna tell the glory of our people, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, that doesn't mean that. I mean, we live in a world where everybody is so ignorant of history, right? Where we don't even understand the Parthian Empire existed, right? I mean, of course, that's like 1,000 years later, granted, but still, I mean, that's something that is worth knowing about, right? I mean, I grew up learning about all kinds of history, but, like, I didn't understand the Parthian Empire as being a huge factor in ancient history until about 15 years ago, right? I mean, like,
I didn't even know. Well, I take that back. I knew who the 300 were. The men who met at the pass. That I learned that in the second grade.
Right.
But what kids learn today.
Well, I mean, it's even like you looking at, like, Parthia, you know, it's really was weird for me kind of coming to grips with it, learning this was because, I grew up in the church, right? So the three wise men and like the impact that they had in Judea at the time they show up coming looking for the king of Israel. I get that was part of it. But then to understand that part of the reason they made such a ruckus was because they were a hereditary king-making priesthood from Persia that were that they had just a generation before been battling with Rome for the promised land. You would think that would have come up in Sunday school.
Nobody knows it. Nobody knows it.
Nobody knows it. And so for me, it's sort of like this is such a missed opportunity. And here they make this big budget movie about this incredibly important historical event where where Asia and Europe were fighting, right? It's a huge deal.
Yeah.
That impacts not every part, but impacts several aspects of the modern world and relationships and everything else. And especially because so much of European history is based upon Greek philosophy and Eastern religion, because that's what Christianity really stems from. And here you have a moment that in history that crystallizes that conflict. And instead of
moment has to fall one way or the other in order for our history to even happen.
Exactly.
It's so important. There's so many of those that are so important.
And it's like, and it's also like, so that's one of the things that we just totally glazed over that. We just don't even, but it's action and it's adventure and this is Sparta. And I'm like, you don't even know what you're talking about, dude, who just watched a movie. So, and Zack Snyder is an amazing cinematographer. I don't want to take anything away from his skill behind a camera, but I've not liked a single movie I've seen that he's directed. Not one.
How did he not know that his Messiah character destroyed Metropolis and killed everyone in it?
I don't know. And that was with Man of Steel. My biggest problem with Man of Steel was how stupid Superman was.
That's only where I start.
Well, I think everything stems out from his stupidity, though. I mean, that's when it comes down to it. Like everything else, it starts with that. That's like that pinnacle. It's like that was also the situation with Batman and Batman v Superman, is how easily bamboozled he was.
The whole movie was set up for Lois to say, "Nice S."
I don't know that I agree with you, but I think that's probably a good place to end.
Thank you so much,
dude. Thanks so much for coming on. This has been a ton of fun, and we'll definitely have to have you back. Maybe when I've read the rest of Through, and we can have a good conversation about that. So,
yeah, like I said, send me a list of what you need, and I will send you all files.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. And I will we'll get you some. We'll keep in touch, of course. So, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Those of you guys who stuck out to the end.
How many people did we get?
We had at one point we had 9, but I don't know.
All right.
Yeah. I have a little show. I can usually expect about 30 people to tune in. Either during the show or watch the replay. I have some people that come up that check it out Saturday and Sunday while they're drawing on stuff. They'll listen through to the show because it's 2 hours, so it's a long block to listen to for artists.
You're gonna like this. I have a sad little YouTube channel that nobody comes to listen to, but tonight, when I finally uploaded the show with bad sound, everybody I know emailed everybody else I know, "Go listen to this, it's terrible." And I'm getting all these letters. It's like, That's not the point.
How terrible Lonnie's setup is. Oh, that's great. So I will say though, before we cut out for the thing, no show next week because it's Thanksgiving, and I'm not going to come on. I'm not your monkey, people. And but we will be next week, the week after, on the 3rd. We are doing an Advent show. It's going to kick off Christmas season. I don't have a whole lot of Christmas stuff figured out, but we are going to be doing that on then. So we're definitely having Rick from Cross Comics coming on. We're definitely having Nick Mueller come on. I think Brandon from Brainy Pixel is coming on as well. Lonnie, you said you're on there, and so that means we need one more person. So we'll see who number 5 is. So that's the story. Maybe Fly Fox Pro. He's often in the running for that.
Sounds crazy.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. He's a Reformed Baptist. So, yeah, like old school Baptist, like not like I can't remember what it was, like the 1613 conference in London or whatever.
There was, prior to the Southern Baptist, prior to the missionary, there were the primitive and the Reform were about the same time.
Yeah. So.
And then there are the Scottish Baptists who do drink beer.
Yeah.
At church.
Hey, I'm not going to argue with them.
I love the Scottish.
So, anyway, guys, that's it for tonight. I'm going to go have some supper, and you guys keep reading comics. Check out Through Comic. It is. I'm going to see if I can't. There you go. Look at this right there. Oh, and hey, just in case you guys feel like it, if you want to, follow my company on Patreon. Throw us $1. Help us make the dream happen. Right?
Ideal Comics.
Ideal Comics. Yep. That's us. And we'll be sharing some art from our upcoming projects in the next week. So, excuse me, got some stuff coming up 2021. Hopefully make it exciting for everyone. So, but for now, I'm going to call it a night, and you guys see you in December. Bye.